Welcome to the WPS student panel. It is our very first one ever, and we're very excited to do this and have this in support of those that are applying for scholarships themselves. This is for everyone, including predominantly mainly our 11th and 12th graders. But as we get students in, Ms. Remy and I are facilitating. So we will let them in right now. We really have a small amount of people listening, but I know that this presentation is going to be shared amongst a lot of our teachers and a lot of the community that we know support students with their scholarships. Scholarships are hard and they're not easy. And when they say free money, it doesn't come free. It does come with a lot of time and energy and effort that you guys put into it. And the three here, we have Yamilet, Kara, and Valerie here. And I know the three of you put in a lot of hours, and I'm so glad you guys are here to give us your experience. And Miss Remy is really great about helping you guys. She probably helped you guys the most in the last few years. This will be my third year here, so I'm just kind of getting to learn all the ropes, but I am myself a first generation student, and I'm Latina, and my mother is from Mexico, and my dad is from El Paso, Texas, but neither one of them had a degree, but that was where I felt like I had a lot of support at my school. And so Marisol and I, actually Dr. Enriquez, who now is the coordinator for TRIO, she took over, she's the successor of Olivia's position. She and I met in high school. We met at 15 years old. We were about 15, and then we just kind of grew up together. We both went to Metro. We both got the same degree, and she went on to be a doctor, and I just kind of stopped at my 4 years. But that's okay. So I wish I would have kept going. Like, that's one thing I do shoot myself in the foot for. I wish I would at least would have gone for my master's, and I still could do it, but I don't know if I want to take on the additional expense. But it is worth it, because if I actually had my master's, I'd be making $10,000 more a year, which wouldn't be too shabby. But and then I love that Mr. Flores is on this call as well. We're gonna ask him some questions. He has done a ton of things. He's done many things as far as like the Army route. He went to school. He has 2 masters. He's a counselor, habla español. He is also bilingual. And so I just think he's a rare unicorn here. He's our only male counselor and Hispanic counselor here at Westminster. So we love that he is also on this call to give us some insight about his adventures and journeys and tips and tricks. So Miss Remy, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and then ask the first question?
Hi, so I'm Miss Remy. I'm one of the Future Center counselors. I work for both Westminster High School and Hidden Lake High School. And so we'll just go ahead and get started. So we're going to be asking about what the process looked like for our students. All of these students have received scholarships through the Westminster Public Schools Foundation. So they are some of our very, very solid students that have gone through this process successfully. So we want to hear from them about what that looked like. So first, I'm going to ask you guys about what, actually, I think before we get started on scholarships, I'd love to have you guys introduce yourselves. Just let me know when you graduated, as well as what scholarship you received and where you're at right now. Let's start with that, I think.
I can go ahead and start. My name is Yamilet Salinas del Val. I was class of 2019, and I was awarded the Adams County Scholarship Fund. It's a scholarship that is for 4 years, so I am still receiving financial aid from them, and I currently attend the University of Colorado at Boulder.
I'll go next. My name is Kiara. Some of you might know me as Kiki. I got the Pearls Scholarship, so that one is also a 4-year scholarship. I'm in my 2nd semester and I go to Metro, and I'm also an Ascent student.
Am I next?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can't tell. Okay. I'm Valerie Gallegos. I'm class of 2020. I'm currently attending CSU Fort Collins, and I got the, I'm spacing out on the name, but I got one of the scholarships from the Westminster Public School Foundation.
I think it's
scholarships.
Leslie de la Torre.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes. I don't know why I wanted to say Miss De La Cruz. And I like, yeah.
I wish I had a lot of money to give you guys scholarships.
Yeah. I confuse the names, but yes, that's the scholarship that I got through the foundation.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. If any of you guys wouldn't mind sharing, what were your topic? What did you write your essays about? What kind of stories did you tell? Just some inspiration to help our students who don't even know where to start.
I guess I could start. Some of the topics that were in my essay were just life experiences, whether it was how I grew up or how my environments influenced who I am today, and also different activities that I was a part of in high school. I helped start a club called Rooting for Kids, and that was one of my essay points. I just talked about how I was able to network and talk to different organizations, people from the city of Westminster and the Butterfly Pavilion, and how I was able to get their support in supporting other children within our district. But I think as long as you just express yourself for who you are, that will show up in your essays. So even if you aren't involved, you can talk about different things that you've done and just how your experiences have shaped you.
I don't really remember what I wrote about, but I think it went along with something that I was like super passionate about. I'm a nursing major. I've always wanted to work in the healthcare field, so I think I wrote something along those lines. I can't remember, but I think it was something like that. So I would just say to write something that you are passionate about, because they want to see you like show that you are interested in something and not just doing it to do it. Like writing about nothing, you want to put your effort in that. So yeah.
I also kind of touched along the lines of personal experiences. I did a lot of like self-reflections and kind of what made me me, and just like sharing that aspect of my life. I kind of touched on that a lot, and how I related back to my goals and my dreams of pursuing a college degree, and why it was so important, what my path had looked like compared to other people achieving these goals. So I kind of really dug into that type of experience, and what I focused on in most of my what the theme of my most of my essays were for the foundation. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Do you guys have any tips for students as they write their essays, things that you would encourage them to do or not do?
I think it's to be a little vulnerable. Like I feel like for me that was one of the toughest parts when it came to writing. I feel like personally I just want to keep those stories to myself. Like I didn't want to share a lot of emotions, a lot of history about myself, or just like anything really. But it does help in the end, because you just get to kind of share out, and people want to know, and it's not something that like you have to be scared of. And I think vulnerability for me is something that it taught me a lot, and um kind of reminds me of journaling. Like it's just like something that you kind of have to get used to, and like you get used to it, and it's nice along the way, just because you get to like self-reflect and look back on these experiences, and it's nice. So.
Valerie, real quick, how do you feel like you got there to be open enough to be vulnerable? I know you had really great mentors, but what were the people that supported you? What programs did you get involved in that helped you get there?
I had a really good mentor, Olivia from Trio Upward Bound, which I got in through Westy. She helped me a lot with teaching me how to be vulnerable and how to get in touch with my emotions and share all these ideas and all these stories about myself. But it really comes down to just like I really do thank Olivia a lot, but it still took me a long time to be able to do that with my essays. And I think it's just reflecting a lot amongst yourself and just like writing down, even if it's not for the scholarship, just write down things and like share about yourself. That helped me out a lot. Like even preparing for the scholarship essays itself, I just had to like jot ideas down and jot all these stories about myself, and just things like that. I talked to my mom a lot too, and like she kind of helped me out with once again getting vulnerable, because she knows that I don't really like that, and I'm not like a big person on that. But she kind of just talked to me and like told me that at one point it's okay, and like you just kind of have to just write, go with the flow, and like share about yourself. Yeah.
Awesome.
I would say to not put things off last minute. I know it's really easy to do that, especially if you have like a bunch of other work for your classes and stuff like that. But like if you really want a scholarship, even beyond like the Westminster Public Schools Foundation, and you want to write a good essay, then start early. Like there's no hurting you when you start early. And make sure you ask for help when you need it. Like if you're stuck, there's so many people that are going to be willing to help you there. So yeah.
Yeah, so I kind of wanted to say the same thing as both of them. Just like be open to be yourself, just because when you are yourself, that really does come across in essays. People can tell like when you're being genuine. So if you're not afraid to be yourself, like show that. And even if you are, fake it till you make it, just kind of, who do you want to be and how do you want to come across is one thing I would recommend. And have others read your essays prior to submitting it and kind of like make time for it, just because if you don't know where to go from it, from like a certain topic, or you feel like it's just not, something isn't working in your essay, if you have others read it, they will be able to give you feedback. I know I had so many people read my essay, and I went to the Future Center to get a lot of help with that. And I mean, I got the scholarship, so it really does work when you get other people's opinion and help.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Through this process, that's one thing we always tell students: start early, start early, start early. I mean, you guys know we have students that turn in their essays or ask us to look at them like a day before. What do you guys recommend as far as students who've applied and have won and gone through this rigorous process? How early do you think they should be starting?
Well, I think the earliest you can is recommended. And, you'll hear a lot of people say that, but it really is the truth, because if you try to do it closer to the due date, you run out of time, or you stress yourself out, or you have trouble finding letters of recommendation. And, even asking for letters of recommendation takes time, because other people also have lives. So it's not really like fair to them, I would say. Um, so if you do know you're going to apply for a scholarship, I would ask for a letter of recommendation as soon as you know you're going to do that, so that they have time to write it also. But yeah, I would just recommend starting as soon as you can, so you have more time to review it, to have others look at it, and to prepare for the interview if that's something you want to do. It just allows you to have more time in general at the end.
Yeah, what Yami said, like even if it's like you're starting 5 months before it's due and just like creating an outline, that's still gonna help you out a lot. Um, and yeah, that's pretty much what I'd say.
Did any of you guys start your essay in an English class, a language arts class? Do you think that would be helpful? Maybe starting your junior year, senior year, like writing a personal essay, or do you guys do that already?
I would say that would be really beneficial, but none of my classes really did that. When I was applying to CU Boulder, I was actually in a summer program where we took 5 weeks to write our essays, and then we applied for Boulder, which was really beneficial because they gave us that time to write it in one of our classes, and we had peer reviews. So we got to look at other people's essays and they looked at ours, we gave comments, and we also had the teachers of our class give us feedback. So I think that if classes were to do that, it would be really beneficial for the students because they would already have an idea of where they want to go with their writing and what to write.
It's a great idea.
Yeah, I had Avid, and in that class, all we did was like scholarships and writing. So yeah, and Mr. Lindenberger was like the best. He was so helpful and he gave us so much time to do everything. So yeah.
I also kind of did what Yami did as well. And I think that like that would be beneficial to kind of incorporate that into an English class, especially because, like I said, a lot of people don't like to be vulnerable. It's their first time writing like a essay like that. I'm like, who knows, you know? And I think just starting like an essay already apart, like in an English class or something like that, it's not as much pressure, and it's a practice one. Like you can work off of it and grow from there, and apply to different scholarships through the one that they made at in the English class, and just kind of, you know, grow in that aspect.
Awesome. Ms. Remy, do you have a?
We can continue on. For the Westminster Public Schools Foundation's scholarships, I know that there is an interview portion. Can you tell me how you prepared for that interview, what that process looked like for you, any tips you have for students?
For me, I was actually really nervous about the interview. I was so glad I made it to that part in the process, but I was really nervous. Before going into interviews, the Future Center held mock interviews, which I was really hesitant to go to just because I was also worried about that. But I went in and we went through a lot of the questions, and some of the people that were at the Future Center were also recipients of different of the scholarships. So they were also able to tell me a little bit about their interview process. And I felt like that really prepared me, being able to look at different interview questions and think about it. And we were also taught different ways on how to answer questions. So like maybe give a backstory and then explain how it helped you grow. And there were different strategies that we were taught to use. And when I did go into the interview, I gave them my resume. They didn't necessarily ask for it, but I gave them my resume and I just took a deep breath and I answered the questions to the best of my ability. And afterwards, like, even if in my mind, even if I didn't get it, I knew that I tried and I put in work and I felt like my interview went well.
Right. So for the interviews, I don't know if they're gonna be in person this year. Are they? I'm not sure, but I remember for COVID, like last year, that's when it hit around the time that we were supposed to start doing interviews for the scholarship. So I was a little scared just because I wanted to practice more with you know, with like KZ or just like the Future Center. So I did panic a little bit, but I kind of just did mock interviews with my sister, and I think a part like a section that I did need to work on, and that I think that helped me the most when I was practicing, was just knowing how to answer the questions and kind of getting my ideas across correctly. Just because when I talk, I just start like gibbering, and it just goes from one conversation to the other, and it just doesn't like connect well. Like the ideas just don't click. So I think for me it was that. I think that really helped me prepare, just like talking to even my sister alone. Like that's that's somebody new, and like these people that are interviewing you, you don't know them. So that was also scary. So I just had to be comfortable being able to talk and get my words across correctly, and just making sure that they understood what I was saying. And yeah, pretty much.
Um, that was the same. I was the same with Val. I just practiced with my family, and then I did Zoom interviews with KZ. I did a couple of them, and they really helped me a lot. Whenever he was giving me feedback on like the questions after I was answering, I had a notebook and I was writing down all the feedback he gave me. And then when I was practicing right before my interview, I feel like that really helped me out a lot because I was struggling at first, but then Casey gave me some good feedback that helped me. So yeah.
That's awesome. I think you guys are right on point, and I've been taking notes. I think a few key words you guys said were, Yamilet, you said you took your resume in, and that's huge. I think for me, once I got the hang of my resume, um, I would take it with me. I'd keep a copy and I'd give a copy to everyone else, whether it was an interview or a scholarship interview, and it just helped me kind of remember things. Like if they were asking me a question, I had it in front of me, so I can revert back to that, because those are very nerve-wracking moments. And like Valeria, I still stumble over my words. I still worry about being succinct. I look up to Miss Remy every day because she's so very well spoken, and whenever she says things, like she says them right. And I'm always like, I feel like I go round and round. So it's a work in progress, but you just have to be confident enough to do it. And we're really proud of you guys. Um, Another thing is, how important do you feel like your resume was for this process? Somewhat, not very. You feel like it helped you reflect on everything you did? I mean, give me some feedback on what kind of tool that helped you.
I think personally it was pretty important. I worked with KZ a couple weeks before, to just because I had already had one previous one, but it just needed some work on it. Um, and I think it helped me a lot, especially um putting down my achievements. I use my resume as a reference to look back on when I was writing my essays, and like kind of, oh, I should include this. This is something I should highlight, just because it was such an achievement for me. And those things slipped my mind. So I feel like the resume was helpful. It just kind of gives you like a summary. It gives the people a summary of like kind of who you are, and like the essays are the added um personal touch, like story to them. So yeah.
Yeah, you could go.
Okay. I think resumes are really good because they help to show like what you've been involved in and like what you've done for your community. Like people obviously want to see you doing good things, so it's good to show like whoever your interviewers are that. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of going off of that, I also think it was really helpful having the resumes because it's like a summary of things you've done. And it also helps whoever looks at the application see you both inside and outside of the classroom, because if they just read your essays, all they know about is whatever you talked about there, but it's like an addition to what the essays were. It shows where your interest lies, whether you are in band, in sports, or you are involved in your community. It shows who you are. It further shows who you are. And I thought that was really important. And it also helps you remember different things you have done, because I know sometimes I'll go in and update my resume and I forget, like, oh yeah, I did that. And I can also use those in like different questions during interviews or during my essays. I think it's just really helpful to have something out in front of you of, it's like a list of things you've done. So it just kind of helps you keep track of everything and build off of it.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm a huge advocate of resumes because I feel like it does not only give you confidence and things that you've done, and you're like, wow, I am a bad mofo. Like I have done all of these things and it's on one paper and I am proud of myself. And for me, that was like an affirmation to myself when I was able to get that on paper. So I really, really try to help students to do that. And I know it's like pulling teeth sometimes, but aside from just scholarships, resumes are just really important for anything in life. And the more you guys grow and the more achievements you have and the higher education that you start obtaining, you add that to your resume. So I mean that's just an amazing piece for you guys to continue to look at and affirm that you guys are doing the right thing. Ms. Remy, next question.
So moving on a little bit to letters of recommendation. I would love to hear who you guys asked from letters, who you asked letters of recommendation from. I think some students kind of have a hard time deciding, should I ask a counselor, should I ask a teacher, should I ask a coach? So if you could share who you asked for a letter from and how long it took. I think sometimes students ask like right before the deadline and sometimes that's not enough time. So I'm curious who you asked and how long that process took.
I guess I could start. I know earlier I said do not ask for them last minute, and I hadn't, but I had asked a teacher a month in advance, and I kept reminding them, and they just didn't get it in on time, which was really disheartening because it was due the next day, and I was like, hey, like I really need it, and they just didn't get it to me. So I ended up asking another teacher very last minute, and I felt really bad doing it because it was taking up his time. I asked Mr. Lee, and he was able to write it, and I am so thankful that he was able to get it to me because that other teacher unfortunately couldn't get it in to me on time. But I still do recommend asking whoever you're going to ask before it's due. And different people you can ask is like your teachers that really know you, counselors, even mentors, or someone in your community, depending on who. If they ask specifically for someone like a teacher, then just find a teacher that you're really close with and knows who you are.
Yeah, going off what Yami said, I would say to ask for letters of recommendation as soon as you can, even if it's like 5 months before. You'd rather have all of them than have to rush like last minute, like Yami said, and not have as many as you need. The teachers I asked Mr. Lineberger because I was his student assistant for a couple years. So I was really close with him, and he wrote me a really good letter of rec. I asked one of my IB teachers, Miss Breslin, and she wrote that to me super quick. And then I also asked Mr. Lindenberger. And yeah, so I would just, like Yami said, choose ones that really know you, that you're really close to. And they don't even have to be like teachers. Like you can ask like coaches or administrators or counselors, any of them. So yeah.
Actually, I was one of those people that asked for a recommendation letter very late. So I'm just putting that out there. It wasn't that late, but it was late for me personally. I just felt like it wasn't enough time that I gave for one particular teacher to write it. But I asked Miss Olivia, and I asked Mr. Lindenberger as well. And I do believe Mr. Lindenberger had previously wrote me like that recommendation letter, but I forgot to ask him if he could submit it to the foundation as well. So I think that was what tripped me up, and like it was kind of last minute, but yeah.
So what do you guys recommend? I mean, I think they recommend realistically at least 2 weeks before, at the very least. If you can ask a month before, that's great, but teachers do forget. and ask them 2 weeks before and remind them. We're all human. We all need reminding. And I think that's one thing that whoever's listening, whoever's watching this, do not be shy, own it. Do not feel bad for reminding us. We need reminders, just like you guys do. Do not feel bad. You guys have to remind us because you guys need this and save them. My letters of recommendation from high school that were written for me, I saved and I asked, and I would reuse them for different things all the time. And they, I gave them a heads up, like, hey, can I reuse this letter of recommendation for such and such? And if you're applying for different scholarships in the next years of your college life, use those again, maybe update them a little bit and ask them if you can use them, just change the date. That's what I did. And they were very, very helpful. Those letters of recommendation made me cry because they were very affirming. I think they're very sweet and they really speak to who you guys are as young ladies who are thriving and doing everything you can to be successful, especially in getting your education. So that's great. I'm glad that you guys are. I did ask when I was in high school, ask letters of recommendation from my youth leader. I remember doing that because we're very involved in our church. So I always tell students, if you have coaches, if you guys have a mentor outside of school, if you work for a nonprofit, if you volunteer somewhere, ask those mentors and leaders for letters of recommendation, and then ask them if you can continue to use them for other different kinds of scholarships or even jobs if needed, or if you're going to want to enter an organization and they want a letter of recommendation. So letter of recommendations along with resumes are extremely important. Save them, copy them, put them in a file that you'll be able to get to later because you do use them again. Okay, well, Ms. Remy, anything else on this list?
I think just at this point, what do you think would be like the biggest takeaway? What would have been the most helpful for you when you were a senior, when you were working on college applications, scholarship applications? What piece of advice would you have most wanted at that point?
I feel like for me, it would be more so just like reassurance from other people that I can do it, just because I wasn't sure if I was going to get any scholarship just because you do apply to so many. And I wasn't sure if I was going to get like an interview. So just kind of like having a support system that's telling you like what you're capable of and just reminding you that they are there for you and that you can do like whatever you set your mind to. I think that would have been super helpful just because I tried to do most of it by myself. So just kind of being open to having more people be there for you.
Yeah, I would say just to not give up and like not lose hope. I actually didn't get the Pearls scholarship at first. They selected another candidate, and I guess that person couldn't get it because of the school that they were going to. So I was the next runner up. So I was super excited. But yeah, so just don't give up, don't lose hope. You never know if you're gonna get something.
I was also kind of gonna say kind of what Kiki said because I also had like a similar scenario. I interviewed for originally I think I had interviewed for the I'm trying to remember it. That was the Highland Hills scholarship. I had originally interviewed for that one, but I didn't get it, unfortunately. But I was still able to get the Leslie de la Torre scholarship. So I think that was also very helpful. I think just having like a positive attitude and just kind of hoping that that you did your best, and as long as you put the work in, I think that you'll receive like kind of what you put in. I feel like I did a lot for the scholarship, but and I still ended up, it was like a struggle. It was like a lot of like a yes and a no with the scholarships, but then at the end I still was able to obtain some financial aid. So that helped a lot.
Yeah, there's so many like opportunities for you guys. You just have to like do the research for them, and I'm sure like anyone in the Future Center can help you find so many scholarships and financial aid opportunities. So, yeah.
So I have a question for the three of you, and I know you guys are very self-motivated, but like Yamila said, more affirmation. You guys need more affirmation and more encouraging and more support. So the Future Center, we're constantly trying to invent ways and think of ways and market ways to get support for you guys. So do you guys feel like maybe we should be angling our marketing a different way? Who are we sending the wrong messages? Are we sending too many messages? I mean, are we not offering enough support for the right thing? So, like Yamila, when you say you wish you had more people around you to give you that affirmation, I can't help but think like where can we step up as a future center um, to help do that? Like, what are your ideas? What are your thoughts? What are your suggestions?
I think for me, it was more so just kind of being intimidated to go and ask for help. But I know that Miss Remy helped me a lot through high school and even like doing concurrent enrollment, which was really awesome. I think part of it is maybe like building a connection, but it's also like a two-way street. So just having maybe like more open conversations and explaining, like, I know that you all do a very good job saying that you're there for us. And I acknowledge that all throughout high school, but I think it was me just being more intimidated to go into the Future Center and ask for that help because I didn't necessarily know everyone at that level. Miss Remy, I made a connection with her through concurrent enrollment, so then I felt more comfortable going to her. But yeah, I think it was more of like I didn't really know who was there to help me, and it was kind of like I was intimidated, which I also had to work past to get that help for the scholarship.
That's great. I think you're hitting on a major point of what Miss Remy and I hear all the time is building relationships with you guys. I mean, the more we can build relationships with students and connect with you guys, the easier it is for you guys to reach out. Kira, Valerie, what are your thoughts?
Also kind of the same thing. I feel like personally I just am like intimidated and shy, but I think it was very helpful that I had already began building a relationship with you and Miss Remia, kind of like the younger years in my high school, and especially I had my mom coming down talking to Miss Remy, so she knew. I feel like she had a veil, like she knew more about me than most, and like I was grateful for that because even then, like I came to her whenever I had any questions, and um, it's very helpful. But I feel like looking at my stance and like looking at another student, maybe they don't have that personal connection, and they can be shy or intimidated as well. So I feel like that causes maybe like a fear, and it yeah, just not being able to make that personal connection to really help the student out and help them out as much as they can with writing scholarships and applying to school and stuff like that.
Okay.
For me, I'm not a really shy person. Like I can go ask for help if I need it and I have no problem with it. Or most of the time I'll just problem solve on my own just because that's how I am. Like so I didn't need a whole lot of help. A lot of this stuff I already like had learned or like saw. Um but you guys are super helpful and you guys are so willing to help, and so I think students just need to understand that it's okay to need help. Like it's okay to not know anything, not even to know where to start. But yeah.
what do you guys recommend the future center to do, or us to do in order to get the students who are thinking about applying, or some of them even started an application and never submitted it? What can we do in order to get them to move forward, to take that step, that next step? How can we help them?
I think for me, it was really helpful when you guys came into our AEs, just because I was able to put a face to the Future Center and get like a closer connection to you, even if it was in a classroom setting. So that was always really helpful for me. And it was encouraging to see different people that were going to be there for me if I needed help with the scholarship, even though I just said like I had trouble asking for it. But yeah, I think it was easier to make a connection seeing you in our classrooms.
That's great.
Maybe just kind of like, I don't want to say like dramatize it because that's not the right word, but maybe just let them know like how big of an opportunity it actually is. I feel like it doesn't really hit you until you're like in college and you're like, whoa, like I have to pay for all this stuff, but I have scholarships, so like I'm okay. And like I thank Westy and the Future Center for all of that. So like maybe just like try to push it like as much as you can, even if it's like you think you're insane or something. I don't know.
That's why I have a blinging this, and I have money guns, because I'm like, dude, you guys have no idea. All kinds of fun gadgets, but nobody. I'm like, what else can we do to help me help you guys? So you're right. Like, I think you just, it's like life, right? You don't know how good you have it until it's past or gone. And we're just trying the very best to get students to apply, to reach out to us. And the way we do that is really honestly going back, I think, to the grassroots of connection, of connecting with students and putting them to a face and going into classrooms and meeting them. And now it's even harder. I mean, it was hard before, now it's even harder with this pandemic. So we're just all praying and hoping that hoping it goes back to normal, and it is slowly but surely. So yeah, I know we're almost out of time, but this has been really, really fantastic, and we sure hope we can stay connected with you girls and just kind of see how you guys are doing. I mean, I have so many questions. Like, I mean, a couple of you guys are in dorms, and how did you get your finances covered? Did you have to get some loans out? How was your day-to-day life? How is the food? How do you like the cafeteria? So when I was a long time ago, I used to be this college for you instructor, and we would take 7th and 8th graders to different colleges. And we'd go on Saturday, we'd get in this charter bus, and their favorite thing was going to the cafeteria. Like, it didn't matter what the students did on that campus for them or what kind of interactive workshops they had. Their favorite thing was going to the cafeteria, and it was a free for all. Like, they could eat whatever they wanted. They would have like pizza and pasta and Chinese food and a ton of ice cream. And oh my God, they just had such a heyday. And I think that experience really helped a lot of those students go to college because it connected them, right? Physically, as 7th and 8th graders in middle school, it connected them to these really fun experiences that normally they wouldn't see because they're first gen students, or maybe students that their families never talk about college. Like my family didn't, they were just trying to work and get through life. So I just think that that was one of the neatest experiences. So I would love to have a further conversation about what day-to-day life looks like to you guys, and for each one of you, because you're all in different settings. So maybe we'll get to agree to do a what's it like in our former Westview students day-to-day life, and you guys can kind of document your life a little bit and show us a video or something. I don't know. Can I rope you guys into that? Just think about it. You guys don't have to commit right now, but I think it'd be really fun, especially for the students here, because you guys they know you, they know your faces. So that would be neat to keep them connected to you guys in that way. Ms. Rumi, anything else?
No, I just want to say thank you guys for coming and talking to our kids. I think it's helpful to hear from people who've been through the process rather than just adults talking at you who are much more removed from the situation. So thank you all so much. You're all wonderful. It was good to see you.
Thank you guys so much. And if you want a Future Center t-shirt, I'd love to send you guys one. So just let me know, like your address, send you a little care package. But we'll put this on YouTube, and I'll send you guys the link so you have it. You could put this on your accomplishments if you will, if you want, for your resume and your community service and outreach. But we appreciate you. Keep fighting the good fight, si se puede. And I'm really proud of you guys. So thank you for joining us.
Thank
Bye, guys.
you.
Thank you.
It was nice seeing
you.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.